Thank you, Asia Society Switzerland, for having us here. I'd like to just start with a question. How many of you have been to Bhutan? Wow. All right, thank you. So this is the Bhutan you know. And this is Bhutan now. Bhutan is going through a lot of changes. But then again, some things still remain very intact and very deep. The spiritual beliefs, the culture, very much intact, which has actually evolved into laws in the country. For example, the sacredness of mountains and the forest has actually made national laws around how to protect forests in the country, leading to Bhutan being the carbon negative country. Protecting forests, putting in a constitution that 60% for all times, Bhutan should be covered with forest. And this is one out of the many such influences of culture and spirituality that has evolved into laws in the country. And everyday lives of a lot of Bhutanese are governed by such thoughts and culture and also the laws. With this, I'd like to share about, inspired by gross national happiness and also inspired by the values that I just shared with you, Loden Foundation started. We started off as an education initiative with £50, and over the past 26 years, we've been able to have extend a lot of support with so many other individuals, some in the room, some outside as well, who've been able to influence and support. Loden also focuses on cultural heritage. Bhutan is a very oral society. We have documented 5 million pages of manuscripts, more than 3,000 hours of vanishing culture in audiovisual format, and publication of books. But then again, the focus tonight would be on entrepreneurship. We have outshared that we have culture, environment, governance in place. But then again, it has also been a balancing act for GNH as a philosophy. Environment seems to have taken the forefront at the moment. And the journey that Loden has shared in promotion of entrepreneurship in Bhutan over the past 16 years, we have seed financed 320 entrepreneurs, businesses in Bhutan. We have been sector agnostic because we were the only institution, agency, which was actually seed financing entrepreneurs in Bhutan and promoting the spirit of entrepreneurship. In the course of supporting these startups, 320 of them all across Bhutan, we have been able to create a group of mentors, a mentoring network. We have also been able to support and organize a lot of entrepreneurial events. And I'd like to present for the first time in Europe to this community here a project which is very timely. It's called Loden Tewa. Loden Tewa is consisted of a team, very dedicated. How we have structured it is with 16 years of entrepreneurial experience in Bhutan. 3 of us from the Loden Foundation board and the CEO makes the council members. We also have advisory committee members who have been friends supporting the initiative in so many different ways. We have added them on the advisory committee members. And we welcome any one of you to actually be a part of the movement. With this team in place and with the experience, the legacy that Loden has, the deep ecosystem integration, the cultural sensitivity and the social impact we have created, and then the friends we have raised, the network that we have created, we feel that Tewa is here for being organized for the entrepreneurs, by the entrepreneurs of Bhutan, rooted in deep Buddhist values. Our model is straightforward. We have an accelerator program. What I share here is a friend just shared about the missing link in Bhutan. Maybe entrepreneurs are necessary. You've been in the wood industry. You just shared about the possibilities of wood industry in Bhutan and the role of an entrepreneur. I'd like to link it here. There are entrepreneurs. There are financing agencies, banks, institutions, the government coming together, everybody really putting their heads together to actually find a way. But it's become quite difficult sometimes. Thus, an accelerator. I think there needs to be a pipeline of entrepreneurs who can actually unlock bigger capital. With all the acceleration and capacity building without access to finance, it is not going to happen. We will be the first venture fund registered in Bhutan. And post-acceleration support is definitely going to be necessary for Bhutanese entrepreneurs. We have made an announcement. We have made an announcement for under which we will be selecting 8 for the first cohort of entrepreneurs. Now you must be wondering what kind of enterprises or entrepreneurs there might be. So I will share a few profiles here. These are prospect profiles. We have Chandrika Pakrin. She's a very good friend of mine. She used to be a corporate employee. She used to work for a bank. But she was yearning to be a fashion designer. Our focus here is to really promote Bhutanese culture through Bhutanese cultural fabric design. And for now, she's living between Australia and Bhutan. Her story when she was living in Bhutan was very different, but her story living in Bhutan and Australia has become very different. I can share proudly that my friend Chandrika has been able to take the Bhutanese togo, the Bhutanese women's wear togo, to a lot of places around the world as a casual wear for women from different parts of the world as a jacket. The second profile is Kemdo Dairy. He's a very smart Bhutanese, graduated from Brown University, could have chosen to live anywhere in the world, but he decided to go back to his village. It's called Khobjika. He works with smallholder farmers, with the dairy cooperative, and the Society of Switzerland Bhutan has been able to really support him. In fact, he was here last year, if I'm not mistaken, for about a couple of months learning how to make cheese here. And he's come back, and by just diversifying or introducing a cheese, he's been able to increase the number of farmers supplying milk to him from 39 to about 90. The impact. We have Tilenamge. I've known him. He was an employee he was a team member of an FDI which was making chips in Bhutan. It was called Happy Chips. He was so inspired by working with communities that he actually went back and started his own company. It's called Bhutan Blossoms. He works with women groups in rural communities. They grow organic edible flowers. And maybe some of you have tasted it. But again, the Society Switzerland Bhutan has been very instrumental in supporting from market linkages to his business. The 3 of the ones I mentioned before, they're Loden entrepreneurs. But I'd like to share about Nyemazam. She is not a Loden entrepreneur. And she's welcome to the Accelerator program. She was a TV personality, a TV journalist, and now she is chosen to actually pursue her creative venture. So the first women tech entrepreneur running the first over-the-top streaming platform. She's been able to bring together a lot of creative actors in the country onto this platform. And she did really well during COVID. It was the perfect platform for her to be launched. Beyond this, very close to Switzerland, chocolates. But then again, the chocolates are very far from the Swiss chocolate. So we have our first and the only chocolatier from Bhutan. It's called Yiga Chocolate. Loden has also been able to play a part in promoting drone technology in Bhutan. We have here a very good friend and also one of the best Loden entrepreneurs who's been able to champion solid waste management in the capital city of Thimphu. So, I'll give you 4 reasons to believe in ambitious Bhutanese entrepreneurs. The entrepreneurial landscape is changing. The young people of Bhutan do not necessarily want to become civil servants anymore. They want to live a very different life, pursue something. The prospect of accelerated economic growth, it's projected that there's going to be a growth of 8.9% in the Bhutanese economy, mainly driven by hydropower and tourism. But then again, there is an 21st century economic roadmap the government is trying to champion, which talks about taking a leap in economic development by 2050, which also, and also there is a project called the Gelephu Mindfulness City, which gives us a lot of renewed hope of where Bhutan is heading. The rise of innovative startups is on the rise, especially with a lot of social commitments they want to promote. And the repatriating talent pool. We believe that at one point, the Bhutanese discussed about young people leaving Bhutan. But then again, enterprising people, entrepreneurial people actually think that when Bhutanese people go away, it is good. They learn and then they come back. So that is going to be an asset. We have a timeline in place. The call for application has been made. The applications end at the end of the month, September. The accelerator program will happen in the first quarter of 2026. We have fundraising goals of up to $800,000 by the first quarter of 2026, $2.1 million US by the end of 2026, and an investment deployment to after the accelerator program in the second quarter of 2026. The fund we are trying to raise, we give a breakdown here. We are trying to raise 2.1 million. We have already secured 212,000 US dollars. We have also had commitments, strong commitments for about 30%. And as I end this, I'd like to share that Loden has the history, the legacy, the network, the deep ecosystem connect. And the future of Bhutan has been set by this, the aspirations that the Gelephu Mindfulness City has set, the 21st economic roadmap the country has set. So it's exciting times. We have the history, we have the network, we have Loden Tewa, and I welcome any one of you who are interested to get in touch with us. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I do feel there is, for me, a sense of that the youth in Bhutan, they do want to have change, they do want to develop the country. They don't want to do that for any price, but they do want to do that with mindfulness. And there is this one big project, apart from all these little and small great initiatives. And Rabsel, you will tell us a little bit more about the GMC and what is happening there.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you very much. Kuzu Zangpola. It's a real pleasure to be here today with all of you. So many friends of Bhutan, old faces, new faces, familiar faces. It's an honor for me to be able to present on the Gelephu Mindfulness City. And I want to thank the Asia Society Switzerland. I want to thank you also for giving me a reason to come back to Switzerland. Switzerland is very close to my heart. In fact, I consider myself a product of Switzerland. As you mentioned, I spent over 10 years of my life over here. My education started in Switzerland. In fact, I did my master's degree in Switzerland, so I came full circle. My first job was in Switzerland. I had a Swiss girlfriend for a while. My love affair with Switzerland shall always continue. So Switzerland is very, very close to my heart, and it's always wonderful to be back. What we're doing in Bhutan is a very exciting project, as you both have mentioned. It's a royal vision. It's a vision born from His Majesty the King of Bhutan to leverage the economic opportunities that we foresee for the larger South Asia region, to build a mindfulness city in the south central part of Bhutan. But really it's about transforming the very future potential of Bhutan. So how can we transform the future potential and the direction that we head in as a country? And so when you think about Bhutan, this is usually what you think about. This is the perception of Bhutan right now. This is the brand of Bhutan, the soft power of Bhutan. You think of this very charming, handsome king, the beautiful queen. You think of a country of gross national happiness, the first carbon negative country in the world, a place that is steeped in our history and our culture, our tradition. Beautiful mountains, similar to Switzerland. But Bhutan, as Sangay said, is also a young country. It's a bold country. It's a country of innovation, of tech, of resilience. A country that is ready to do business now with Loden Foundation as a good example. And so the GMC is also about showcasing that different side of Bhutan, that other aspect that we have. It's not about replacing and moving away from what we are known for, but it's about showcasing another side of Bhutan. And that's what the GMC will continue to do. This is such an important slide for me because it is about redefining how we Bhutanese see ourselves. And with the GMC as a catalytic force, we've been rethinking and internalizing and introspecting about Bhutan's image and perception, but our own identity. For so long, for many of us who've been growing up in Bhutan, generation after generation, because we're such a small country, our perception of ourselves was an identity of smallness, of vulnerability. A country that is sandwiched between China and India, two great neighbors, big neighbors. And so our development, in a way, was a function of pragmaticism, of trying to find our way among those two giant neighbors. But there was an air of vulnerability because of that, an air of smallness, an idea of smallness, as I said. But with the GMC, what it has allowed us to do is to not just look north and south, but also look east and west. It's to zoom out in the map, to think about how we are so strategically positioned at the center, at the top of this land economic corridor that connects the Middle East and South Asia and Southeast Asia, that has this catchment area of half of the world's population. And suddenly, we see ourselves now as a place of opportunities. And that slight shift in perception is a major paradigm shift in terms of how we look at ourselves. And this, in my opinion, is already a major impact that the GMC has provided. And sometimes in many countries, it's just that slight hinge that changes the direction of our country. And that's what I believe the GMC is doing. And so we believe that Bhutan and the GMC can unlock all these economic opportunities that we foresee for the region of South Asia, primarily propelled by India, primarily propelled by our region. But how can Bhutan take advantage of this trend that we see in the region that is going to bring out a lot of opportunities for all of us? And that's what the GMC will be able to do as well. And so we take advantage of what we're good at. We take advantage of the fact that we have a lot of abundant green energy. We take advantage of the fact that we have a lot of sustainable resources. But in my opinion, we take advantage of the fact that we have very strong leadership, very enlightened leadership in His Majesty the King. And so with those three key resources, we are looking to build a city that is spiritually mindful, that is economically prosperous and environmentally sustainable. And this, as you can see, is very much still in line with what Bhutan is known for, gross national happiness. It's very much still aligned with the value systems that we hold very dear. It's still very much the ethos and the identity of who we are. In fact, what I like to say is that it is natural for a country of gross national happiness to give birth to a city of mindfulness. It's very natural. It's like a mother giving birth to a child. The DNA and the value systems remain the same. The culture remains the same. But the personality can change. This is a new personality, more dynamic, more forward-looking, more innovative, more risk-taking. And that's again what the GMC is about. Now, how do we do this? It's very interesting. His Majesty has something called the Diamond Strategy. And the idea behind this is that we are creating a one country, two systems model. We have now adopted a special administrative region for the Gelephu Mindfulness City. And this is it's worth discussing this a little bit more. A special administrative region allows us autonomy in our executive, governance, and legislative systems, so the laws and the regulations that we have, and also a fully independent judicial system. Complete autonomy in the governance, in the legislative, and in the judicial systems. Very interesting. In functionally almost a country within a country. And so the question that I may pose to you is, if you had the opportunity to build a whole new country from scratch without having to worry about history and past decisions, how would you build your new country? What education systems would you have? What governance structures would you have? What healthcare systems would you have? What kind of investors would you want to attract? What kind of residents would you want? What kind of values would you want to build? And that is the exercise that we are doing right now in Bhutan. It's not just a theoretical, conceptual, academic, scholarly work. We are actually doing it. And in Bhutan, we can afford to do that because there is that trust with the king, with the leadership. And because there is that trust, when the king has a vision for Bhutan, we know as Bhutanese that the purity of the intention is clear. That the purity of our intention is clear. And because of that bond and that loyalty that we have in Bhutan, we can make this happen. And that's where we are right now. My joke these days is like playing SimCity. For those of you, when you were young, when I was young, I used to play this game called SimCity. You build a whole new city on your computer. That's what we're doing in Bhutan. But it's not just the hardware. It's not just the infrastructure. It's not just the engineering and the architecture. It's also the software. It's also the operating system. So what kind of culture do we want to have? What kind of governance structures do we want? What kind of laws do we want to adapt? And so since its announcement in December 2023, that's what we've been working on in Bhutan. Yes, we have a very beautiful master plan for the city's design, but we're also thinking about what kind of foundational laws should we adopt. And because of the royal prerogative, of a sovereign prerogative that we have in Bhutan, we've already, through a royal charter, adopted some of the first laws in the GMC. So now we have the advantage of not necessarily having to reinvent the wheel. We can look around the world and say, what do we want to adopt? What can we adopt and adapt? What kind of laws and systems do we like from across the world? Tried and tested, best case studies, high standards. And so we looked at Singapore and we said, we really like their commercial laws. The commercial regulation seems very interesting. But we don't take it wholesale. We don't want to just transplant it. We adopt and then we adapt it to the interest of Bhutan and GMC. And we do the same thing for Abu Dhabi global markets, for financial regulations and digital assets. And I really think we should do this for Switzerland as well. We should look, and this is another question that I ask you. What do you think, in your experience, in your expertise, with your insights, can we bring to Bhutan? What is Switzerland good for, known for, experimented with? What can we bring to GMC? Because the GMC is a testing bed, is a test bed. It's a sandbox initiative. It's a pilot. It's a place for experimentation. It's a place to try out new things. I like to say that GMC is what Bhutan could look like. And we will try out all these systems. And some will work and some might not work. But if it fails, we fail forward, we fail fast. We're like entrepreneurs, we're like a startup. I like to think of the GMC as a big social enterprise. And His Majesty as a great social entrepreneur. And so this is the joke that Mr. Gerard mentioned. His Majesty is a social entrepreneur. And that's what we've been developing in Bhutan. So that's the advantage that we have in being able to adopt other regulations and frameworks into GMC. But we'll do that while taking advantage of what we're known for. We're known for being very green in Bhutan. 60% forest cover as mandated in the constitution. 70% forest cover as we speak right now. GMC will be over 70% forest cover. GMC will be extremely clean. Similar to Switzerland, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink must be Himalayan Bhutanese products. But GMC will also be extremely safe. And this is a very strong value proposition when we talk to partners, investors, and residents. Because this is a region of South Asia that historically, and unfortunately even right now, is characterized by instability, by political upheavals, by lack of coordination, by distrust, by pollution, unfortunately. But in this region of South Asia stands Bhutan as a place of trust, as a place that is safe, as a place that is values-based. And so that is very similar to Switzerland. The opportunity that presents to Bhutan, to GMC, when it comes to differentiating ourselves from our neighbors, from our region. And so GMC will be clean and green and safe. And of course, GMC will be also very happy that that's very much part on brand. We want to continue to be as happy as we can. And so the gross national happiness development paradigm will continue to be the underpinning, the foundation, the values, and the system that will shape and grow the GMC. As you can see on the map over here, the GMC is based in the south central part of Bhutan. It's bookended by 2 nature corridors. We're looking at about 2,600 square kilometers to grow into 4,000 square kilometers. 2,600 square kilometers is twice the size of Hong Kong, 3 times the size of Singapore. Look at the opportunity. It's, as I said, right across Assam in India, in northeast India, a region that has huge potential for economic growth. We have to build a lot of infrastructure over the next 5 to 10 years. In fact, we already started to build an international airport, and I'll share about that a bit later. But lots of connectivity, important. Access, important. Capital, important. And that's where we are. But keep in mind, GMC is just about a year and a half old. If you're a human being, it's a baby learning how to crawl. But we're working with urgency. We're being prudent, but we want to be fast. We've also identified 8 economic clusters. These are the 8 economic engines for the GMC. The first one is around spirituality. How can GMC be able to attract all the different Buddhist spiritual lineages, the schools, the traditions? How can we be the space for every Buddhist in the world to come and stay and practice? How can we bring in Buddhist masters? His Majesty the King has already met most of the Buddhist masters, and most of them have already given commitments, and some have started actually constructing their centers over there. And Buddhism, with all of its different schools, have a space over there. We invite every Buddhist master and Buddhist practice at the GMC. How can we be a space for health and wellness? There's a lot to learn again from Switzerland, I believe. How can we focus on integrative medicine? Bhutan is known as the land of medicinal herbs. How can we marry that with modern medicine and create integrative medicine? How can we be a space for longevity? What kind of research can we do? How can Bhutan and GMC be a blue zone for healthcare? How can we not just increase the standard of living, but also increase the quality of life? And that's what the GMC will be focusing on. How can we be a space for education and knowledge? And this, I believe, in my last week of being in Europe, so many opportunities here. Just yesterday we were at HWZ and we were having conversations, and we built so many contacts, linkages, friends who are now looking at conversations around bringing thought leadership and education institutes and bringing in research centers around education. Agri-tech and forestry. We spoke about Bhutan being at the forefront of smart agriculture, and we're a carbon negative country. So how do we leverage that? How can we bring in areas and investments around green energy and tech industries, especially with the global demand for AI and compute power? How can we be a hub for finance and digital assets? Again, lots maybe to collaborate with Switzerland on this and with Zurich on this. Bhutan has already adopted Bitcoin and Ethereum and Solana digital assets as part of our strategic reserves. We're a little bit ahead of the curve compared to other countries on the space. And aviation and logistics. How can we increase tourism through this, but how can we now be connected to the world through the international airport that we're building? And how can we create a whole economy around the airport and around logistics? And the 8th one, of course, is tourism, which will continue to be a key economic driver for Bhutan and the GMC. And so this is just a quick slide to show you, with the new international airport, how connectivity looks like. The next time I come to Switzerland, I don't have to go through multiple airports. Hopefully, there's a much easier direct flight. So within the next 4 years, the international airport will be ready. Within the next 10 years, the entire infrastructure, the core services will be ready. And after that, we will continue to grow and develop, and we will continue to focus on being a mindfulness city in the region and hopefully globally. We're also aware that for a project of this ambition and the scale and size, that we can't just do it alone. We need friends. We need global expertise, international expertise. And so that's what we've been doing. We have over 150 international partners across all different elements of city building. I would love to see more Swiss companies. And this is a slide where we keep evolving, we keep adding, but this is just to give you an indication of the varied nature of the types of partnerships that we have. And we make sure that they work very closely with Bhutanese team members. Within my team in the comms department, I'm the oldest. And hopefully I'm not that old, but I have young team members. And the idea is that they work closely with my counterparts at Teneo so that I have knowledge transfer, capacity building, so that my young team can eventually be built for future leadership positions within the GMC. This is very critical, and this has been very thought out by His Majesty to ensure that there is capacity building for Bhutanese leadership. This is how the city will look like. Right now, if you go and fly to the Gelephu Mindfulness City, it's a vast expanse of green, of hope, of energy, of possibilities. This is what the city will look like. This is a Bhutanese definition of what a city looks like. No skyscrapers. It's not going to be crowded. Low density population density. Lots of public transportation. Lots of walkable areas. Lots of micro parks. Marry that with Bhutanese design and as well with modern technology and modern excellence. This is how the airport looks like. It's modular. It's blue lamp timber technology. It's solar powered roofs. Inside the airport, this is the Bhutanese version of what an airport should look like. Not a place for stress, but to de-stress. A place of relaxation and meditation, yoga, sound healing, Bhutanese arts and crafts, so that your experience, your first and last impression of Bhutan is authentic to what Bhutan is about, what GMC, a mindfulness city, is about. We're very excited about the airport. So excited that when the construction started 2 months ago, everybody gathered down there. In fact, His Majesty himself came down there. Her Majesty came down there. The royal family, the children, the royal children came down there. And this is very unique to Bhutan. We have a word called Shabto. Shabto means contribution of manual labor. It is so close to our heart, so close to our tradition, where we believe we must be serving the country. Tsawasum, king, country and people. This culture of service is what is very unique in Bhutan. And so His Majesty and the royal family came to GMC and they stayed a whole week providing Shabto, providing actual manual labor. I had to come back to Thimphu the next day because I had work. His Majesty and the royal family stayed there every single day from day to night, working and contributing labor. This is very inspirational for us in Bhutan, and I'm hopefully outside. Leadership at this level, working with everybody. And it wasn't just His Majesty the King, it was the Prime Minister and the opposition and the private sector and the media. The cameraman came and stopped and he started doing manual labor. It is Bhutanese diaspora who are calling me every single day saying, how can we come back to contribute Shabto? This is what makes us nation building. This is nation building 101. This for me is what makes Bhutan unique, what makes GMC unique. This is why I believe we have the ingredients to make GMC happen. Yes, there are many projects around the world that want to build cities. I believe that in Bhutan, with the special administrative region, with the culture that we have, most importantly with the leadership that we have with His Majesty the King, and this bond, this fidelity, this love, this trust that we have between the King and Bhutanese people, that the GMC is an emanation of that trust. And because of that, I believe the GMC will be successful. There is no other option. And so with that, I hope I've been able to paint the broad strokes of the GMC, and I'm very much looking forward to a conversation. Thank you very much.
You can keep the microphone. I do have questions. I'm sure you have questions as well, but I will just start with a few, and then we will open up for everybody in the room here. As you said, with GMC, you're starting from scratch. It's in the planning for quite a while. We are now in phase 1. It will be at least 10 years for the first phase, then it will go on, so it's quite a long run. And you said you can basically do whatever you want. Because it's not there yet.
Yes.
Yeah, you can come up with new laws, with a new economic framework. How are current developments that will also come? Is it with trade, tariffs? How is this influencing the project?
So I'll start off with a short story, which is my mother, once I joined the GMC about 3 years ago, and she started hearing about the plans and the projects, she would always say, ooh, Gelephu Mindfulness City, I don't think I'll be alive when it's completed. It's such a long project, it's so far down the line, 40 years of the diamond strategy. And she's saying, no, the GMC seems to be for your generation, and more than my generation, for my children's generation. I have a 9-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son, and my mother, the older generation, when they first heard about the GMC, they thought, oh, this is what we're doing for the future generation. The reality, and this is what I keep telling my mother, is the airport will be ready in 4 years. In concurrence to the airport, there'll be many other infrastructure that is happening. In fact, there's a railroad that will connect the GMC with India. There's roads that we're already building. There's going to be a lot of infrastructure that is going to come up. Within 10 years, as you said, the first phase of the GMC will be complete. So the first part of what I tell my mother and what I would like to share with everybody is that the city is going to be up and ready very soon. We're not building major skyscrapers. There's different architectural kind of approach that we have for GMC. So that's the first part. Two, of course, is the software and the trades and the tariffs and with everything that is happening around the world, where Bhutan can position itself, where we can learn from Switzerland, is in being a high trust society. High trust, values rooted, values based. And this is the approach that we have when we look at designing the GMC's ecosystem. We are still a one country, two system, and so therefore we will still follow larger Bhutan's interests. At the end of the day, the GMC is designed for Bhutan, and so there's going to be a congruence, there's going to be an alignment with how Bhutan's own approach to development and diplomacy looks like. But the GMC can be that catalytic force for experimentation in a safe space, so to speak. And the GMC's, like as I said that time, the GMC's lessons, whether through success or failures, should then inform back to Bhutan. And so the GMC is being modeled as a very interesting special administrative region that falls within the contours of Bhutan, but that allows us the possibilities of trying out new policies. What does that actually mean is when I say now we need to enter the larger South Asian market, it means what is our double taxation agreements going to look like? So now we have to rethink what double taxation agreements look like. What does the airspace agreements look like if we have an international airport? Suddenly that opens up new channels for conversations. So there is many conversations that at the very least the GMC allows us to even talk about. If we didn't have the GMC, we might not even have thought about that. So the concept that I always go back to is something called path dependency. It's an economic concept, path dependency, which means that your historical choices, the historical path that you've chosen, almost forces you to make future decisions. The example that I use is my Samsung phone. I've been using a Samsung for the last, 10, 15 years. And I use a Samsung every time. Every new phone is a Samsung. And maybe my next phone should be a Google Pixel or an Apple iPhone. Maybe I know that they have better features. I don't think so. But because I've been using a Samsung my whole life, I'm just so used to that ecosystem. It's more convenient to continue in the Samsung path. You take this and you scale this at a country level. And what Bhutan has been doing with path dependency is that shackles us for experimentation, for being able to think new. And this resonates with entrepreneurs, because that's what entrepreneurs do all the time. We're thinking outside the box all the time. I spent 10 years as a social entrepreneur. In fact, I was very fortunate to be a Loden entrepreneur myself. So that's what entrepreneurs think about all the time, is get out of the path dependency. And so the GMC, again, allows us to move away from the shackles of historical choices so that we can experiment into new areas in policy, in design, in everything, most importantly in culture. Culture is what we're trying to build, a new culture, a new approach, and one that will be extremely entrepreneurial, in fact. So, sorry I took up so much time.
If I may add, so there was a lot of, from what Rabsel shared, was a lot of external trade linkages, etc. But without the city actually being built, there's already been ripple effect within Bhutan. This is what I'd like to share as a practitioner. We just mentioned about Loden Tewa setting up a fund. The royal government of Bhutan, as it's a big system. They want to assist, they want to help the entrepreneurs, but it took the longest time to actually even come up with the fund management rules and regulations. For us to actually have a legit registered venture fund, just last month, they actually made it possible through some change in regulation. So at Loden Foundation, at Loden Tewa, the type of discussion we were having was, if it's not going to happen in Bhutan, we should go to the GMC. It gives us this flexibility, a place to go to, as Rabsel talked about, having sandboxing it. So it gives us an option. And of course, we also discuss if GMC is not going to consider, probably we'll have to take it to Singapore and incorporate it there and take it from there. So these are the discussions which is actually opened up because of GMC.
Can I just follow up on that? Okay. I mean, we've talked about these opportunities that's given by the framework of GMC. Another thing that's happening, and maybe most of as them see. When we think about Bhutan, it's still this Shangri-La and the Himalayas. But there is also a digital transformation influencing Bhutan's economy, particularly in rural and underdeserved regions. How is this influencing your work and the work from many young entrepreneurs?
Well, first I'd like to share that Bhutan's rolled out and actually onboarded all its more than 700,000 people on the national digital identity. The technology that where they built the national digital identity is a decentralized blockchain technology, NDI, and it has basically empowered taking all this information from centralized databases of the government and empowered individuals on their digital wallets, NDIs, to actually take control of your own identity. It's super powerful. I was just talking to somebody at HWZ yesterday. He was so interested. He was in tech. He's in tech here. He's in the crypto space. And he was asking me what's happening in Bhutan. So I was telling him about the national digital identity. All 750,000 people there. The vision here is, and this is not GMC. This is the rest of the whole of Bhutan here I'm talking about. The power of digitalized NDI and people actually accepting, because of this high trust, this relationship that Bhutan and the people have, being able to onboard everybody gives the power of everybody to unlock anything from their mobile phones. And also what happens is 95% penetration of smartphones into Bhutanese population. That's pretty high. Have we been able to unlock and harness the power? Not yet. But is the platform there? Is the infrastructure there? And this is specific to the question that you're asking about farmers. They are on the platform. But is there enterprising enough? Is there enough capital? Is there enough driven people who are coming out with innovative drives and projects? I think that's in the pipeline. It's in the making.